let's talk about what really happened at the Garden of Eden. Genesis 3:22. And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil. Basically, you might not have thought of this before, but when Adam and Eve ate the fruit at the Garden of Eden, what they got was the knowledge of good and evil. So we can basically say what they got is a conscience, right? According to the dictionary, a conscience is the ethical or moral sense of right and wrong, chiefly as it affects a person's own behavior and forms their attitude to their past actions or even future actions, as I would say. So basically, when Adam and Eve ate the fruit, what they got was a knowledge of good and evil, which is a conscience. Now, you might think, why would God not want us to have a conscience? This is why. The moment you realize that bad is an option, there's a tendency to do it. Without conscience, they would have never known that there was such a thing as bad. All they knew was, being in the garden, serving God. They knew good. But the moment they ate of that tree, they knew that there was another option called evil. And as soon as they discovered that there was a tendency, that there was another option called evil, they had a tendency to do it. So if evil is never an option, people would never do it in the first place. It's like telling a child, don't touch the cake in the fridge. And the child is like, wait, there's cake in the fridge? And the Apostle Paul says it best in Romans 7, verse 7. He says, What shall we then say? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, had I not known sin, I had not known sin but by the law. So he was saying, without the law, I would not have known sin. He goes further to say, For I had not known lust, except the law had said, Thou shalt not covet. So he's saying, if the law had not told me, don't lust after your neighbor's properties, I would never have even thought of lusting after my neighbor's properties. So the reason why the Lord didn't want us to eat of that tree of the knowledge of good and evil was because he didn't want us to have the option of evil. We were to live in a perfect world where there was, it was just us being in the presence of God. We're not supposed to have this binary opposition of good and evil. But now that we have eaten of the fruit and we do have a conscience, the key thing is to ensure that you do not lose your conscience. I know there are many people who do evil and don't feel bad about it, but every single person on earth has a conscience. Many people just ignore their consciences. Psalms 33, verse 15 says, He fashioneth their hearts alike. Every man thinks alike in one thing, in what is good and what is evil. Now, the worst thing that can happen to anybody is for God to take your conscience away. Romans 1:28 says, Even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do the things which are not convenient. So God is saying there are people who will ignore their consciences so much that he will just let them off and, let them live lives without consciences. Now, the problem with living a life where you don't have a conscience is that you are not aware, not like you're not aware, but you completely ignore the possibility of the fact that you could be wrong. And as long as you don't admit that you're wrong, then you'll never see a reason to repent. And if you don't see a reason to repent, you'll never repent, which means you end up right where the devil wants you to be, which is hell. So now that you have a conscience, the key thing is to ensure that you do not vex God to the point that he takes your conscience away. And yes, vex is an English word. Per. All right. So next time you're thinking about the Garden of Eden, remember what they got after eating the fruit is a conscience, the knowledge of good and evil.